guys. I love you so much.
Recording in progress. Teaching virtue as appropriate opposition, or through appropriate opposition, or virtue is appropriate opposition, or teaching is appropriately opposing, and that manner of teaching produces virtue. Our focus was initially around teaching, and we're asking whether teaching can be taught. This is part 4 in that series of conversations. In this one, we're going to keep pressing on and bringing up that proposal that has those 3 pieces: virtue, appropriate opposition, and teaching. And we're going to be endeavoring to notice the way in which what we're speaking about presences between us as we speak about it and move through it. And we come to this proposal in that same manner, in that we've it's kind of arisen between us, and it's very much or almost where we started. We started with using in an analogical kind of way the context of fight or martial and the context of dance, and we were picking up and teasing at the nature of opposition that is played between those two. Yeah, then here are the other logs, and then we'll see where we get. What is opposed might be a good question to ask, and we seem to pick that up in the conversation about sin and false knowledge, and so the teaching influence tends to press into that which is not known, or that which is murky, ask questions around or toward, or convicts one towards that area. Something that is associated and might have kind of reflective value for the context that this conversation is arising out of is anger as the result of being opposed, linking it to the original proposal. Then what Abiyile brought in at the end of the last conversation, which was wanting to look at friendship and fellowship. The piece that we dropped in I think it was the second conversation, was this the difference between my will and thy will, and that might link into the piece on anger as the result of being opposed, or the result of having one's will opposed. So then how, and it's just roughly constellating, how does fellowship or faith and thy will come into the situation of virtuously opposing or appropriately opposing for the sake of teaching. Yeah, that seems like just that last piece about this. As people brought it up last week, it might have been after finished recording, but tying up or reflecting on the conversation as it's come, and we very much have these talking points as the result of that, of having moved through a process. So they all are kind of ready and dry to be burnt, and then just again that's bringing in that reflective or reflexive element of seeing how whatever we're talking about might presence between us as we talk about it, as we try and get to it. So is that a sufficient beginning? Does anybody feel strongly in a particular direction?
Mm, good one.
Because whatever direction you feel, I'm just gonna oppose it.
That's all right. Would be boring if you didn't. That's all right. Would be boring if you. I think I'll start with in the direction of the claim. Uh, about virtue. The claim isn't going to be surprising to any of us, as it's in the meaning. So it's in the structure we're using when we talk about virtue. And that's virtue is something that's good. It's always claim when they have virtue seems to be something that's good. And if we also go to the claim that all people desire what's good, then all people must, in some sense, desire virtue. So virtue is something that's good, and virtue is also something that all people desire. But again, now the problem we had with people desiring things that are good is some people misidentify the good. So virtue, since it is also good or a good, can also be misidentified. You can think poorly about what virtue is. So a very important part of virtue is correctly identifying virtue. And I think that is why it's important to oppose the false knowledge, because even when you even when you're searching for virtue itself, you can have the wrong idea of virtue. And if no one is there to oppose your false knowledge of virtue, you could think you're pursuing what is good, what is most good when you are not. So yeah, I just wanted to start off with the same so we just get an idea, some idea of virtue, not that it makes much of a difference because it still doesn't say what it is, it just says what qualities it has and what this brings the question, can something be said apart from its qualities, but we're falling off track. Thing, what qualities it has, and yeah, what are some of the, let's call it effects, what are some of the effects that come from having such qualities? Uh, again, it seems if virtue is wisdom and wisdom is knowing something,
Yeah,
knowing what is right at the right time, again, it falls back to the circularity of acquiring wisdom in order to have wisdom, which brings us back to the statement we made last time that if wisdom is already there and it's God given, then what we are looking to do is not instill wisdom in somebody, but to in a sense evoke it and maintain it because it's already there. It's already something that's that's in them, but it needs to be maintained, which goes back to the tying down.
yeah,
So now I'm thinking in terms of the opposition, what we are opposing. We are opposing things that delude you, like things that remove you or they distract you from the virtue that they distract you from nurturing the virtue that exists inside of you. They just start to sound too flowery, start to
yeah.
sound
That,
too flowery.
it might be like the like maybe like halfway like the original was very clear. It's like glad you brought in that the orientation, or the like the end aimed at. So
Yeah.
there's an end aimed at, and then there's a way to get to the end, and it seems to, or to like approach it. There seems to be a bit of a difference there. So that
But it
structure,
seems the end is
that structure,
regularly.
that structure was very clear. And then once you brought in acquiring wisdom, then it got a little bit less clear. So if Avila and I were properly virtuous, we might have like interceded at that moment and be like, boom. But so then I was thinking like, why, or or what, or like what would we have to have valued more in order to intercede at that moment than to let you keep talking? And then you're even like you're becoming like reflectively, you're like, oh, now I'm getting flowery, and like so you're like, you're almost asking for intercession, and or this is
Conversation.
a word that's come in now, the intercede. Um, nice. Okay. So things are gathering. The the but the first thing, boredom. You mentioned boredom, but I just want to say like so we have intercession and boredom are coming. Yeah. So there's something that we should be following, and it's leading somewhere. We have some sense of where it's going to go, and we're feeling into like the quality of that moving, or that the way of being after it. And it means and we're doing that together, and somehow, and that like supersedes uh I'm not sure what is it.
It's difficult because there is an end, but it seems like I can't say it without it sounding. It seems like the end. It makes me think of Aristotle's potentiality and actuality. And it makes me think of that, in the sense that, oh shit, sorry, one of my lenses just fell off. I guess it needs a wipe. I was saying, it makes me think. Let me try and reorient. Let me try and reorientate my thoughts.
Yeah, you need a
Uh,
clean lens.
virtue is already there. It seems. It seems. Or rather, the virtue is already there, but it's not. It's not
Clear.
cultivating.
Yeah.
So the potential to be virtuous, let's put it like that, already exists in the person. There is that thing, it exists in a person. It just requires cultivation. Right? And in that sense, yes, we are moving towards an end, but this end is we're sustaining
Mm.
something. We're
Uh,
sustaining something. What we're opposing are the things that try to remove the virtue from you.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That is the opposition.
Yeah, I like that the image of the sustaining, and like feeding and protecting, and
Yeah,
yeah, the yeah, nurturing, cultivating, blocking out. Um, sure. I'm wondering where Abiyile is. Like a nice lens.
yeah, thank you.
I I'm listening. I'm listening. I might have. I don't have different idea. Not too radically different an idea. Look, I'm of the understanding that I can't verify that people come pre-packaged with a propensity for virtue. So I can't verify whether you have the stuff in you which makes you capable of being virtuous. So in that sense, in some strange, weird sense, you're trying to put something in. But I can't defend that claim. It's just a thought I have as I heard people talk. That all right, people come pre-packaged with some God-ordained nature, a bent towards receiving some. It's like the wax and the ring with the seal, right? All you have to do is to heat the wax, but the wax has the ability to take the shape of the seal. All we're doing is heating the wax. Right? That's what Sipo said. I'm saying I'm not sure we're working with wax.
Ah,
Yeah, I think I see. Never mind. Go on then. I need to think about that. I don't think that's what people saying, but
no,
see why you'd say well, that's what people saying.
yeah.
Anyway, massive tangent. I'm introducing a very big tangent.
I was hearing more. I was hearing like more like a living kind of language, you know, the like a sustaining and a nurturing. Um, the sustaining was the word that got it very much for me, like a kindling. Like so I'm thinking of anger now. Maybe like um maybe anger. So okay, so one thing also when you were speaking of Yulia that I thought was like this the virtue as or like we're trying to do something together, like we're trying to track something together, which puts us each in relation to um it like it localizes our will and like orientates it towards something, and then we all come in toward that thing, and we like facilitate each other to try and get a, a better view or and the thing that uh I thought was that like it's it's something like it's only in this instance, or it's like it's only in the enactment, like it's um we come together and we orientate towards it, um and then like happens between us, and then it's not so much like something to be possessed, so there's more of this kind of language of participation, um and because our proposal is uh appropriately opposed, that means that they like it implies that there always has to be two things that are being put in opposition, or at least two things that are being put into opposition. That would mean that like the one thing doesn't exist in a sense, or like there's no being for whom then the virtue is acquired. Like there isn't there isn't an acquisition. There's an enactment, and that enactment has to happen between things that are opposed. And there's ways that they can be opposed, such that a thing that is sought or tracked, like takes light, or it cannot do that, and maybe it becomes like a boredom, or the like there isn't like a I just chose boredom because it had come up, but it becomes there's less of a of a fact of communion almost so what happens when the opposition breaks down in terms of its virtuosity is each kind of recedes into uh, their own will, or and then it's like a finding. Is it finding each other? Is it finding? Like what is it? What is it finding? What are we finding when we're finding like the togetherness? Like when we're tracking. Um, yeah, maybe that's the question. Like are we finding each other in that process, or like what reveals itself when we get that opposition, uh, like right? And I suppose the whole question, like, what is the right opposition?
We need virtue. You know? I thought, yeah, maybe I've been rambling for nothing. I think the point I was point I was trying to make is that's a difficult question to answer because answering what the right opposition is knowing the right opposition at the right time, and that's having wisdom. And for us to have that, we don't really have to be virtuous. Hence, to say it seems one already needs virtue in order to nurture virtue. Like it already has to be there.
Oh, then what about the idea that like virtue it's not acquired or possessed, like it's not that type of thing. So
Mm.
that you so then that kind of disables the circular thing, because it's not that you have to have virtue before you can
Mm.
get virtue, because virtue isn't that
So you're saying virtue is outside.
outside.
How do you teach it?
Um,
If it's outside, you can only bring your attention to it. But I can't get it to be new. I can only get you to pay attention to it as something that's outside.
yeah, and but it's like I get a bit excited, but the it's like it's you can get to pay attention to it via like its enactment. So it's like by participating in. And then the thing that we seem to have come back to a lot is that the participating in is this giving appropriate opposition. So that like
Mhm.
and then that like in that puts it in an inherently like a relational context, because they have to be things that are in opposition. So then it
Or
like
virtue. Okay, I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
how would you finish that for virtue to be?
No, I'm saying it seems it's leading in the direction that we don't see virtue. We don't see virtue in isolation. We see virtue when it's acted out amongst more than one party. If that makes sense. Unless now the unless unless now if we shift it, we say we see virtue in isolation when somebody is appropriately what was the word?
Opposed.
Appropriately opposing uh, that which that which challenges the virtue in themselves. If that makes sense. When you're alone, when you appropriately oppose that which challenges your virtue, then perhaps we can say we see virtue even when there aren't two parties, when there's one party having an internal conflict and they handle that internal conflict virtuous.
Yeah.
Virtue. We're using virtue a lot, but
Yeah.
it seems Look, in the amount of time we've used the word virtue and the way we've used virtue, the only thing I'm drawing closer and closer to a synonym or synonym. I don't know if it defines, it actually defines it. I think it's synonym. And I don't see how virtue, excellence, goodness, and uh, correctness can be separated. I don't
Mm.
see how
Mm.
it can be separated. I can see how virtue, perhaps, and correctness can be separated if you correctly do something that's harmful,
Mm.
because the good cannot be harmful. So to be correct and to be good does not mean the same thing. Because correctness can still be harmful. Say,
Yeah.
I don't know, you tortured somebody correctly, right?
Yeah.
But true goodness, which is the one that does no harm, like seems to inherently be in opposition. Like, I mean, something can be a good torture method, but it's not the same good we're talking about, right? It's good for torture. It's an instrumental good. It's good for achieving the end of torturing, but it doesn't mean torturing itself is good. Uh, Correctness seems to be less tied to goodness. I don't know. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more it puzzles me. But
Yeah.
yeah, correctness, goodness, virtue, and excellence. Excellence in the sense that excellence seems to be the to excel at being good. In other words, you sustain the goodness throughout. You don't make a mistake. You
Mm.
excel at it. Like you're so good, like you're good all the time. You're good all the time. And it seems like it just ties to virtue. Like because if you know the right thing and what then you're an excellent person.
Yeah.
You're virtuous. So how do we teach people to be excellent people?
Mm.
Like isn't failing being isn't failing learning, and isn't learning part of being a person? So doesn't that make you? It's yeah, yeah, my God, yeah, my God.
Dear my God. The I'm glad you brought in excellence because we've just like straight up assumed, or like we've been using virtue as excellence, but it might not be the yeah, that's common ground that we share, but yeah, it's worth expressing. This if you think about maybe then how's this proposal like following on um so asking the question like what uh the proposal being that anger is the chief thing that disrupts virtuosity or goodness or like it anger takes opposition and makes it such that it does not produce excellence or uh, makes it not excellent.
And what if your anger is directed towards a lack of virtue? I you know what I'm saying? Like I'm angry that we're not focusing on virtue.
Okay.
Why are we focusing on these? You know what I'm saying? It seems there we have an example where anger is directed towards virtue. Like your anger seems to be. So it seems now this is appropriate anger. Like it seems if
Yeah.
you were inappropriately angry, you would lack virtue.
Yeah.
Seems that's why correctness and goodness just seems to float, but you can't tell which one they're talking about. Because Mino seems like he's talking about correctness to me. Seems like Mino's talking about correctness. And at times it seems like Socrates is talking about goodness. And the reason I'm saying Nino seems to talk about correctness when he gives examples. So the first example he uses is like uh, the the virtuous man does this. The virtuous woman does this. The virtuous child does this. Oh, it seems like it's the implementation of the correct behavior, which isn't like saying the implementation or rather the fulfillment of the correct behavior that is designated to a particular person is virtue. And it seems whenever Socrates comes in, there is a contradiction between correctness and goodness. In other words, we're like, okay, so let's suppose you said say you gave me many virtues. That's the first one. Is that you gave me many virtues, but I'm looking for the one over there. And then he goes back to the one that belongs to one to rule over one's what I can't remember how he said it.
Yeah.
His own friends and what were them. I can't remember exactly how he said it, but it seems that the conflict here, at least the way now it's been a while, but at least the way I'm remembering, it seems that the conflict is one of correctness versus goodness. And
Yeah.
after Socrates has asked for definition, and he goes for he starts proposing possible definition. Uh, it's like, okay, shall we say not only he who rules, but he who rules justly. Like, not only the one who thinks, but the one who thinks justly and what. It's like, for justice is virtue. Is it virtue or is it a virtue? And then it moves on to other things. But I can't catch myself for some reason. I'm trying to say something, but I don't
But
understand what I'm trying
the
to
yeah,
say.
we I think we're both following. I'm speaking for you too, Abile. Following. Yeah. So I think like the um the when the correction is so this the corrective gesture or the appropriate opposition. The anger brings in a really it's interesting because you then floated people the idea that the um what if the anger is for the sake of virtue or it produces virtue? So then we got to ask like okay what like what's happening in that instance? Like if I'm correcting according like what am I correcting according to or toward? So
Then we focus on
say again.
that's the correction is that we focus on virtue.
Yeah, but we virtue is like um
For
we're
example,
not gonna get it, like we're not gonna acquire it or possess it. So then we like we're engaging in something, and then we are like feeling out, and then we are opposing the things that like seem to detract from and take away from,
mm,
and then correcting, and like so giving appropriate opposition. And then what's been really interesting about our set of conversations is this idea that, or this resurfacing of appropriate opposition, that requires an appropriate opposition. And then like what is um the proposal is that anger is the inappropriate opposition, or is the thing that makes opposition um inappropriate and not produce the excellence of being together. So anger, there's some, so correct and corrective, like a corrective gesture takes the direction of someone and corrects it, that can produce anger, because it's this way, it's like my direction, and then it's like the corrective gesture that says no. And you said it in terms of the like the moments of learning, like you got to fail to learn, like and then so then it's like what is the character that enjoys, invites, or at least does not get angry in being corrected? What is it that they've come to value or be orientated towards, so that they can participate with others such that they are not angered by the corrective gesture, but able to notice what the corrective gesture is pointing to, and then equally appropriately oppose in order to move toward or with what that is. I mean, did you put a?
I'm just gonna trust. When you trust the people that you're doing virtue with, you can receive correction. Now, if you trust their eyes, that they see something in what you're doing, you might receive it and get angry. But knowing who they are and the way that they read things will help you, once you've had the moment of anger, to realize that they must see something, and to turn your eyes toward that thing and investigate whatever it is they're trying to correct you. Right? So you will do the turning yourself. Right?
Yeah.
They just need to signal. They need to flag something. You will turn because you trust their eyes.
Yeah.
Now, when you asked I think the initial question, I'm going to mince it very badly. When we are sort of interacting together and doing a virtuous work, what is it that is coming out of it? What do we receive as the end? Is it getting to know each other? What are we actually gaining? I want to say we're gaining multiple things at the same time. One of those things is an awareness of the people you are doing the virtuous work with.
Mm.
And that helps you continue doing the virtuous work with them.
Trust.
I want to come back to the point on appropriate opposition. Because sometimes people can be correct in extending a star, pulling you away from something, pulling you away from a certain direction, right? And getting you to turn yourself towards the whole group dynamic and the virtuous work that is happening. There is something about the way in which it is done that can cause you to deeply distrust the people that you trust. You can receive the corrective attempt and discard the people. And then that also does a bit on upending, but another tangent. That's just
Sure, I appreciated that piece on trust. That yeah, it's like that there seems like there's something, because uh it's also uh trusting, like the intercession. So it's like you have to trust enough in order to really follow where the other is looking and what they're saying. But then something happens where it's what they're saying might be better served by intercession, which then is like a prioritization or an evaluation of the other thing that is happening over the hearing out, or like over like a politeness. So where you bringing up trust, like ping me, is like I realize like I get like a bit animated, and then I can also interrupt. But like when I'm interrupting, it's because I'm like there's like this track of the thing, and then I'm worried that like it goes that way, and I'm trying to check like so then it's like and it would it would be it would feel impolite if it wasn't if um uh if the thing wasn't deemed as worthwhile, and then if the thing didn't then reflect back the appreciation for being prioritized over something other. And then the more that each of us does that with each other, the more we prioritize that which is moving between us and becoming intelligible. And then it's like, and then it's the group knowing itself, or the kind of trailing. Yeah.
I think the sort of, I don't think virtue lends itself to being taught in the very strict sense we have of teaching. I think there's a particular thing happening with virtue that requires it to like unfold over a lifetime. It's a sort of like a discipleship walk. I, I,
Like
it
like
doesn't, there is no end to the concept.
the way like it made me chuckle, like because it's like because I've been trying to think of like how do I like how do I face a market? How do I market? Because what do I have? Like so, but this thing of the necessity of the opposition, and that so the first what I was hearing is like it's a how did you phrase it in the beginning? Virtue doesn't
Lend itself to the strict understanding we have of teaching.
yeah, because we have that idea that it's like this it's consumables. It's like things to be acquired and things to be possessed. But virtue is enacted, or it happens between, in a context of uh fellowship and friendship. So then it's like, so like you're gonna market yourself like we I I sell friendship.
It
So,
doesn't sound right.
so pay me for my time, um, and be my friend. Because it
You
because it
know,
has
there's a
to
market for that.
say again.
There's a market for that. The actual website for people who want to hire friends.
Yeah, that. But if I'm thinking of the same thing as you, then that's more like trying to allay loneliness, or like trying to get like just not wanting to be lonely. But friendship in the sense of like uh friend of virtue, like
They're
so
lonely because they lack virtue.
ah so then but so then what I was saying is like the if following from what Abuyile brought in, it's like virtue presences in the context of friendship and fellowship. Then if you put that into like a market logic, into like a, then it's like, okay,
Yes,
this is what this thing
yes,
is, but I'm going to sell it to you, but you have to like completely equally participate in it and be the friend, like so yeah.
yes. It's obvious what to do. We need to become priests. We're essentially, that's
Yikes.
what we're selling here, essentially.
so
As the end to which we have arrived. The end to which we have arrived.
the priest. I mean, like, because you brought the Mino in, like,
What do they do if not sell you virtue? They don't even sell it to you. They just give it to you for free. They oppose injustice. Everything was just laid out right.
but the danger of the priest, at least from the context of the Mino, is their relation to the doctrine that they are ministering. So, like, in the context of the Meno was the recollection of the soul and the implication of its immortality. And like Socrates is like, you can get this doctrine from like almost anyone. Like they'll tell you these things. And there's also people that like they've made it their life. And some of them might even be very, like, they might be like very good at it, at delivering and ministering this doctrine. They might be they'll be able to just like, it's like the wind comes and it's like "Wah," and then it's just like this charismatic, but the brutal Socrates is like, you have to fasten that thing. You have to fasten that, so you're not dependent on
Otherwise, it comes and goes.
the wind of right opinion. And then so then we were like, okay, like, what is that? What are we fastening, or like, what's that um that process? Or so that's the thing. It's like if you take the philosophy serious, then you can't, then it's like uh uh like, so yeah, that then this really, like, what is of benefit, like, how to for oneself and for another, like, is it the ministering of the the doctrine? Yeah. So
The minister can always add that the doctrine is the horses being tied down.
is
And everything else is to untie and try to tie them down again.
yeah,
And if the minister is right, then every time we untie these horses, when we tie them down again, we're gonna end up at the same place.
Mhm.
If we tie them down properly, you end up at the same place. So that's how we'll know. If we keep ending up here and there and here and there and here and there, it gets a bit shaky. Like,
yeah,
that's, I guess that's why I never understand when people say to religious leaders, I can't trust your doctrine because it hasn't evolved since its conception. Well, if it's true, what is it gonna evolve to? Like, that's my question. Like, if something is true and like it's true
uh,
now, it's finally true. What else can it become? Like, if something changed, then something was wrong with it. If it's not changing,
yeah,
then there obviously is nothing wrong. So that's why so I'm saying, if we end up tying horses down and it looks the
yeah.
same every time, mm,
But
mm,
it's there's like there's the application to the specific context of the truth that is in the doctrine, that requires like very unique particular expression, and the idea that like it's for each individual soul to recollect, to enter that process of recollection, which is coming to be what they are. And that process is the one that is like um uh so thoroughly avoided by all of us, because it involves the the learning. So like what compels or what convicts someone to like in that direction, like especially, and I think this is why Socrates and Plato were like against the sophists, like especially when you can just be told the same thing again and again, and then you like, oh, like then like there's nothing that necessitates the labor. If you can just receive then it's like, okay, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Propose. Propose until you reach the conclusion yourself. If it's true, you'll reach the same conclusion. If it's true. It's true and you oppose appropriate because it's true, you'll reach the same conclusion. If you don't reach the same conclusion, it's either that's not true or you did not oppose appropriate. You know what I mean? I mean that's what I'm thinking. I could be completely wrong. Could be completely wrong. I'm completely wrong, but that's what
Yeah,
I'm thinking about.
my question there would be into what is being opposed, like what's that mind. I'm not sure if that takes us off.
The framework.
Say again, Javier?
The framework, because the way we've been trying to get our hands on a framework for virtue, so something we can hold up every time we talk about virtue and go, yeah, that's the thing. Off we go in another direction. All right, there is the cornerstone. Off we go.
Yeah.
That you're kind of looking for a blueprint. And when somebody talks to you, they present you with the blueprint. Now, you need to look at the blueprint and take the blueprint seriously and then question the blueprint.
Yeah.
And by doing that thing, I think we all understand what that means. Sorry, there's a moth in my room.
How is this?
Yeah.
How is this? And you find it distracting.
What are you
You
on?
find the wasp.
The wasp. That's
The
Mhm.
the this the what's it, the blueprint, the frame. It's like, so the cornerstone or the living stone, and then it's like what is the relation to that? Because if it is relation, if it like continued relation, then it is such that it is that which compels the, but I don't say not compel because of, at least because free will as being the way in which you come to love, but the the it convicts into the deepening of that process, and then the thing that would be like the philosophical, I think, is that that's never ending. Like it's a continued thing. Keeps convicting. So then like the, I was gonna say why would one do that, but
why would somebody engage in that sort of
yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially especially when it makes people angry. when it angers, because that's the almost that is the nature of the opposition to the thing, and and it's one's own opposition. Like, yeah, there's something there in the anger.
You remember last week? Was it last week? The week where I was going on about the Sipo's garden analogy, and how God, being the husbandman, knows the plant, knows exactly what the plant needs, exactly what the plant's going to grow into. He knows everything, so he can garden efficiently. And when somebody, let's say a student, comes to his teacher, you know nothing about that person. So you don't know how to best do the teaching that'll help the material. But sometimes people are weird. Sometimes I tell you, I oppose you, Dan. Appropriate, right? But you won't receive it from me. You go to say he opposes you appropriately on the same topic, right? In a similar way, and it just catches the light, and you're like, oh, right, weird stuff. But sometimes not you to appropriately oppose. But that's a tangent. It's not your particular job. And that's part of the wisdom/temperance, is knowing that, okay, something here is not carrying across what I hope to carry across. I'm being received in a particular way, and that sort of it's going to hinder the person from receiving within a similar vein what we're trying to do here. So I'd rather just stop, and somebody else will make it.
That's wonderful. Like the because where it raises the question of what is being opposed. So then it's like I've made that mistake when I've estimated where the other person is at, and then I take myself to be opposing in line with where I take them to be. And then the shift that seems to be coming up in this conversation is the shift to the idea that the thing pursued is not acquired. So then it's not an opposition that's operating from the estimation or the judgment of where another person is, but is orientating itself to the nurturing of the thing that is happening. So like language that might be close is like the powers and principalities, or the it's like it's like it's not the person. So like what you've been caught up when you're opposing the person. So like then that for me has been like get locked into that thing. So then just in this conversation, realizing more how it's because the thing that is being interfaced, or that is being sought, is really 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 happening between, and it has to happen between. It's only happening between, and then there's no yeah.
Sorry, I keep moving my trackpad. can't get to the screen. What was I saying? Yeah. On the topic of what appropriate opposition looks like, I think what determines possible theory we can look into, maybe challenge it, but what might determine appropriate opposition is the end it serves, yeah, the outcome which it seeks. In other words, if we oppose for the sake of domination or we oppose just for the sake of opposing, that might be the inappropriate form of opposition. And then when we oppose for the sake of the good, or rather for the sake of for the benefit of the person we are opposing, to benefit them as well. For example, if you are addicted to cigarettes and you are getting sick, you came to me, a shop guy who sells shit, and you tried to buy more cigarettes, and I looked at you and I was like, sorry, I can't give you more cigarettes. Now I'm opposing you, but I'm not opposing you to do you any harm. I'm not opposing you just because fuck this guy. I am simply opposing for your own benefit, even though it would benefit me to give you this and I'll get more money. I see, but no, this will do harm to you. See how it somehow has gone back to the that which is good does no harm. That which is truly good does no harm. So I think perhaps the appropriate opposition is the opposition that aims to benefit the person who is opposed.
Mm. Mm. Like that.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Intercede people. I had a thought in the beginning, but it's just gone. Just all gone. It was about the Milo.
I thought what the person who you deny the cigarettes, like they're gonna say I'm harmed. You've harmed me. Like I want those cigarettes. Like you and then anger.
Yeah,
Um
it's gonna come through.
so uh, again this piece that's coming up in this conversation is like it's it's if I'm acting because I think I know what is the benefit for you, then it becomes tricky and probably harmful. So then
Or it could appear harmful.
or it could.
It could appear harmful. It
Yeah.
could appear harmful, but it could be beneficial.
I think we're coming to something a lot stronger. I think we're coming to the idea um that it it is harmful. If I take myself to be acting for the sake of your benefit, it means like I think I know what is your benefit.
Yeah, I'm assuming what is your benefit.
Yeah. When this with the way that virtue has been coming in this is that it's like it's the it's enacted, or so it's active participation, and then there's that like estimating that like, oh, that kind of participation is what is worthwhile. So then I
Well,
can
think of it. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say that then as far as I orientate myself, it is towards that. And if it's towards the assumed idea of the end that is good for you, I've lost that capacity to participate because I'm.
Look, I'm not sure I'm understanding that last part. You're saying if my end is to benefit you, it's I've now lost the ability to participate in.
Virtue as is coming in this conversation.
But if virtue is a third party, and our participation in virtue is what benefits you, and you asking for a cigarette is you no longer participating in virtue. By me denying the cigarette, I am denying your lack of participation in virtue, and it's the virtue that benefits you, not me. I just want you to do. I want you to participate in virtue because it benefits you. So I don't see how I don't see how we stop participating in virtue, especially if that opposition I'm bringing is appropriate and leads us both to virtue.
I mean,
You've just stopped the mutuality. The reason you've come to virtue at the depth you have is because we've got this thing that we keep doing between us, right? We've got this thing that we keep doing between us that you don't do anymore. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gone out of the fold to get a cigarette, right? There's this thing. So when I assume what's good for you, I scold you instead of saying, I can't give you this. Remember this, right? I scold you and tell you what a bad human being you are for giving up on virtue. And you never want to do this with us again. And it's a very extreme example, but you break the mutuality. There is a way to do the corrective thing, but bring back into the mutuality to get you to turn yourself towards the mutuality. And there's a way to do the thing that favors the mutuality.
But the example I'm pointing to is more in the one where I'm reminding you of the virtue. I'm just doing it through denying you the thing that causes you a lack of virtue.
In virtue of having done the mutuality for a long time, we have a base understanding and a trust. There's some friendship between us. So the way you tell me no is not the way you tell a stranger, right? There is some sensitivity and there's a depth of explanation, right? But when you assume what is good for me, right, you assume that I should know better. For example, you take that stance. We've been through this. You should know better. How terrible of you to give up something that you've made the cornerstone of. How terrible of you to fall away from your inquiry into virtue. How could you do that? And what's best for me is to react with a sort of harshness that makes you quickly realize how far you are falling from your inquiry into virtue, so that you quickly come back to your inquiry of virtue. But where I don't assume you're good, I know that you know the good and something's happening because of our fold of friendship. What I want to maintain is the mutuality. I want you to come back in and keep doing this thing so that you recognize exactly how it is you've fallen from virtue. So I may say, I'm not going to help you with this, okay? For these and these reasons. When you need to talk to me, please reach out. I'm not going to help you spiral, right?
But it depends on the person. Like, again, if it goes back to that trust, if I know you're the type of person who responds to harshness, and if somebody is not harsh with you right now, you're about to do something you're going to regret for the rest of your life, and I'm harsh with you, and you don't do it, and you look back and you're like, oh, thank God you stopped me from doing something that's stupid. Then it was the appropriate thing to do. You get what I'm saying?
But where you don't assume the good for the other person. When you assume the good for the other person, you assume what they ought to know and how they ought to behave, right? You're now not knowing them and responding in virtue of knowing them and what they like. You are now standing in a self-righteous position. You're sitting on the law and you are rendering judgment harsh, and you are condemning someone. Because you think by condemning, you are making them aware of their sin and bringing them back. But you're actually doing the opposite.
I see what you're saying. I just don't see how it ties with the example of the cigarette.
I think that
But if I refuse to give you the cigarette because you died, and I can see you die, and you can see you die, and we both know you're addicted to cigarettes. You're telling me your good is to die. That's essentially what you're telling me by asking me to give you more cigarettes. And I'm in conflict. I don't believe that's what your good is. And I feel like whether now I'm making an assumption of the good or not, I feel like there is a place for an appropriate what do you call this thing? Opposition. I feel like that is something worth opposing, even if your assumption is wrong. Like I'd rather be wrong and assume something that will benefit me than not try.
Which is fair. Which is fair. I think if I can make another example, it's the difference between not selling somebody cigarettes or taking away their cigarettes and chaining them to a bed so that they detox. Right? When I assume you're good, there's something that happens. I don't assume you're good in virtue of what you've communicated, in virtue of who you were and how you chose to live. Right? And then sort of try and bring you back to what I know you want, to what I know you value. I do the other thing.
I think I see where the distinction between what I'm saying and what you're saying is. It seems I am talking about a lack of participation and entertainment in something that I clearly see is destroying you, and I oppose. Because I oppose it, I say I will not be a part of it. Now, I need you to know I oppose it. And it seems that the example you presenting is one of imposing my perception of your good on you. Yeah, I'm not talking about imposing my good on you. By me denying to sell you the cigarette, I'm not. You can go buy them somewhere else, but I'm not gonna sell them to you. And I need you to know that I'm not going to sell them to you for this, and this. And I feel there we see an appropriate opposition. And I think
and we are
I think it would be important. Yeah, I think it would be important for the to say, I want my cigarettes because of this, and this.
But the appropriate opposition comes from your recognition of the friend that you are opposing. So you recognize things about them and the way they choose to orient themselves in life, versus somebody who is now internalized an external standard. So they've internalized some framework on virtue and are clobbering it.
Yeah. I think there's this it like there's like this the question of the appropriateness might bring like because it's so I think friendship is important, and then it's like it's the friend of what, and I don't think it's so like recognize the importance or the good of the knowing the other, like a acquaintance there's history. It's like what seems to be coming up is that like the you can't serve them, you can't serve the other, like you can't serve their end, or you can't in some way, like as far as you are acting in such a way that you deem their orientation or enactment as being harmful for them. It's like it's like there's a really slippery thing here. Like it's like I have to be orientated towards. I have to be properly orientated, because then 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 that's what gives the appropriateness to opposition. If I'm not properly orientated, I'm going to oppose. I'm going to be exercising my will or opposing your will. It's like, so I haven't managed to get to the, it's like flickered a few times in this little piece of dialogue. It's like flickered this like a vision of something that breaks the relation, even the relation that's trying to be virtuous with itself or with each other and trying to be of benefit. Like, but there's something that comes in, that it removes me from any estimation of the other's good, or but it's not like solipse. Yeah.
Mm. We did talk a little bit about what is being befriended. People suggested what is being befriended is virtue. So there's something that brings all of us together. It's in the center. And in virtue of inquiring into virtue, we come away with sort of deeper, broader knowledge of each other. So when I can see you trailing in the way you usually jump into our inquiry, I can pull back and recognize something's now hindering your in-betweening on the matter of virtue. Then I can double back to point back to the thing that kept us together.
Mm.
And I think that's it. That is when Peter is told that basically he's got some hypocritical tendencies in the Bible, his friends do that because look at Jesus. Jesus sat with the people you don't want to see. All of a sudden, what happened? What denied Christ 3 times, and he still appeared to you and fed you fish and asked you, love me, do you love me, do you love me? He mended fences with you. You can't do it. What's happening? What happened? Well, that's not the tone that we read it, but they all have an understanding of Jesus, the deity, the person who was among them. And when Peter sort of falls behind a bit there, they're like, follow this. Remember that this is the way. And I think when in a mutuality with people, that's all we can do. I can only say, remember when you told look at where you're going now, sort of tangenting away. We've got to have hope in them, faith in them as people, that that desire for virtue is deeply ingrained, that even if they fall behind and this mutuality should disband, virtue from the inside will call out to them again and they will pursue virtue again. We cannot override the will of the other. We can continually extend an invite into the mutuality.
Yeah, that extension of the invite, it must be it's there's nothing to give. Like there's nothing, like you said, like you're saying, like I can't give you anything, but I'm going this way, I'm doing this, so it's this that has to extend the invitation. There's nothing that I can offer. It has to be this, that, and then the decision to follow. So like that, like the there's not a breakdown of that mutuality. That there's been this weird tension between, like, this has to happen between us, but at the same time it has to be you completely alone. Like you have to take it up and pursue it, and then, but then it happens between us, like a and that's the I don't know why I've avoided the language, but that like thy will dispensational orientation, like, and the way that comes up in this is that there is a through line of intelligibility that then is come into service of, that by its nature will shine and invite into. But as long as I'm serving something other, even something as noble as like your good or your benefit, or then like I'm losing track of the thing that is actually going to be, or that can actually be of benefit, or that I recognize as being beneficial. Then that is the only thing that is the only thing that can produce that degree of opposition that can fly in the face of, like, anger, or that it can produce the appropriate. Yeah.
Or doesn't the conflict exist because of the perception and our perspective of it? The conflict between it happening in, or two conflicts. One is it happening in the person and it happening between two, like the two of you. And the other conflict is, when you feel something is about to leave and it leaves. Second conflict was, what was the last thing you said?
It, I think it may come back, but that first thing of the self and then the other, like a, like
Yeah.
that, and like this is
It
your, like
yeah.
how much is this struggled with in like a religious context? It's like, can we be sure that the transformation is actually happening in the individual? And then the thing that uh gives the signs of that is that they're capable of this manner of opposition. Like they are able to move past and through social consensus and the weight that comes on, but not in just like a destructive way, in a way that like is pursuing the thing that's being held as the general intent of the body anyway. So it serves the body, but it's like it's and if that incision or relation hasn't been recognized to an extremely personal individual degree, that capacity to be in opposition is going to break down, and it's going to fall into the social consensus. And if that's why, like, the vision of the body of Christ is that each individual is in relationship in that manner, like, is compelled and convicted to themselves of that, and so capable of courting that fellowship with one another. Then it's just yes, yes, yes. Like,
I was thinking, I guess I was thinking of the conflict in the example of teaching virtue here, right? An example of teaching virtue here. Because if we look at virtue in the same way, then virtue is something outside the teacher and the student. The teacher has to focus on virtue, and the student has to focus on virtue. And we're saying the teacher points the student to virtue and tries to get them to understand virtue. But then the example of the person or the student moving away from virtue was that of a person who was sick, wanting cigarettes while he was sick. And then you're like, no, man, this is for your own good. Look at this. Now we're saying by them focusing on what's good for them instead of looking at this, it disrupts the participation. I'm saying the participation was already disrupted because remember the virtue of the teacher is to also teach. So the moment the student looks away, at the moment the student looks away from the virtue, then there isn't participation between the three anymore, right? So it's not that when a teacher takes focus away from what virtue is and what virtue thing is and focuses on the well-being, they cease to participate. You know, part of the virtue of being a teacher is to focus on the well-being of the student. So they're still within that, they're still applying the virtue by focusing on the well-being of the other. And I would like to think it is the same thing in the body. In the body of Christ, I think it's the same thing that part of part of me fulfilling my duty is catering or tending to you when you are unable to fulfill your duty anymore. Or rather, you're falling from your duty. It's part of my duty, it's part of my function to, to seek you out, to find you, and find out what's the problem. It's not me no longer participating in my duty. I'm still fulfilling my role in that duty. And so I don't see the conflict. Like, I don't see how these two things can ever, like, get what I'm saying?
I think
Because, and I think the reason I don't see the conflict is because the good of both comes from the virtue. That makes sense, right? So
yeah,
if you're not focusing on the virtue, if
uh,
you're not focusing on the virtue, it doesn't necessarily mean now
the
that the good
like
that comes from the virtue. Yeah.
Avila's bringing in Peter is really instructive. Like a so Jesus is saying, "I am the way."
Uh,
So it's like he's pointing at himself. He's like, so it's not like a pointing to someone. It's like follow,
the virtue.
follow. So then they're going, and Peter's like, I will follow you till, like, the end. He's like
And
hyperbolic.
he's not.
He's like hyperbolic about the degree to which he will. But
Uh,
the guy sees him, and they're going along, but he knows also that when it comes to a certain
Point.
pressure or tension, there is something inside of you that will cause you to fall from this. So it's like that's a the what we seem to be coming to is like, to the degree that you or one acts in the service of the sense of what is good for the other, it's you've lost sight. Like, you've lost sight of the thing that is actually going to be of service to the other.
I don't see that. I don't see that. Could you please just explain that? Make that a little bit clearer for me.
Are you on that same track there?
Yes, we're on the same track. A good example is the Pharisees. Right? Now the Pharisees following Jesus around, like, he's eating grains of wheat on the Sabbath. He's picking and eating grains of wheat on the Sabbath. You're not supposed to work on the Sabbath. That is work. Do you realize that sort of nitpicky, sort of very fine-grained way of understanding what work is?
All right, I get
Right?
you, but
They have
it's the why are they opposing? You see, it's the why are they opposing that bothers me. Are
because
they
they've
opposing?
internalized the word of God. They study it. This is what they do, right? And their job is to help people keep the law, let's say, right? So they've now internalized the standard, but they've sort of put away friendship. Do you get what I mean?
I get what you mean. It's just that I'm not convinced that the reason they're following him and saying you ate the what is because he's not following the law. I'm not convinced that they're correct, like their opposition is for his own good. I think the
It's
opposition
for the
has
good of
other
everybody
intentions
else.
behind.
It's for the
I
good of
don't even.
everybody else, because people are starting to. Jesus has got what, a few hundred followers, I think, in the Gospel of Luke. He's got a few hundred followers, right? And he's drawing huge crowds to listen to him. Now, if this person is scripturally off, right, and my job is to make sure we are all scripturally sound, and this person getting a lot of attention, he's calling himself God, and he's doing miracles, and he's just drawing people in. But I know the scripture, and this is just, it looks to me like an unadulterated perversion of scripture, right? This is not possible from my frame, because I have internalized the scripture in such a way that it is not changing, it is not it's not it. This is what it is, and everybody who's not doing what it is, I hand over to Caesar.
All right.
Do you get what I mean? That person
say
is
they are
looking
the
at
person
the
assuming?
thing that gives the mutuality in a very particular way.
All right.
And that is breaking the mutuality. Because had there been a different perspective,
Yeah.
been a learning from Jesus,
The thing that
All
gives
right, now
mutuality would have continued.
the thing that gives the mutuality is alive and can only be participated in and with in the manner in which one participates with something that is alive. So it's like that like the way that virtue presents in the beginning of this conversation. It's that it's like, it's not going to be something that any of us possess or acquire, but it's going to be something that we participate in. And we lose that participation when we lose the recognition that the thing that we're participating in is alive. Like, it's what's threading and moving.
Yeah. I see. Now I see your guys' point. It's just something about it. I can't put my finger on, but I see
Yeah.
your point. Maybe I misunderstood something
We
along
see
the way.
this is I think we're all seeing into the same place now, and it's like the uh it's it's not a point, it's a through line. It's like it's a and it's the insistence of that through line, and then the being after it. That's the
Mm.
and what's come out really strongly in this conversation is that virtue is not happening anywhere else. Like it's in that. It's not going to be the takeaway point or the thing acquired or the and then that's even like that's the reason why we've come together in conversation around this question is because we recognize the fact that like it's 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 enacted. It's like it participated in, like we're not yeah. So
Yeah, I can feel the stingray effect. Trying to think about it, it was just like, what?
we should savor that. We should savor it. It's just like we so often running around like thinking we know what's going on. It's
Uh,
the most beautiful thing to be like, wait,
uh, perhaps it's virtue. Perhaps.
yeah, yeah. So how do we market that?
You can only market things. People don't always want what they need.
Yeah.
People want what they want. That's about it.
It's food. It's food. It's like it's life giving. It really is. Like it's
You only need to, you only need to, how can I say it without offending the rest of the planet? Mhm. You only need to sit and observe what people spend the very finite amount of money they have on, and then observe the number of people who spend it on particular things. And I can assure you, even if you were selling food, you wouldn't do half as much as people who are selling things people don't need but want. They will change what they want a hell of a lot more than they do what they need. It just depends on how much they want, how much they want. How often do you see people buy water? Quite frankly, like that, I haven't seen anybody buy water in a while. That's like the most essential thing on this planet. I'm not saying people don't. Just saying I've seen far fewer people buy water than I've seen people buy anything else. That's essential. That's really essential. So I think we prioritize things we want a lot more than we do what we need. Of course, there'll be people who prioritize things they need, but I think they're just far less and fewer in between. So you can, in other words, you can probably market this to a few people. You're not going to get a lot.
yeah, yeah, it was a dumb question. Dumb question. It was bad.
No such thing. No such thing. Man. That's called
Yeah,
focusing on the virtue.
yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean but it's I mean putting it in that context of the practical questions that also brought us together, it's like um it's it's creating the space, like the container, it's like the implicit space that affords something. Like that seems to be like the for the matters of which we are concerned, that's the educational question. How do you create the space that affords um it's like teaching my younger brother math or geography. It's like apparently very simple material, just like grade 5 level, but it's exciting. It's like it's interesting, and there's just like the material is so abundant. The material is everywhere. Like reality is so generative. It's so generative. Like we just need to stop and like digest some of it. Like to partake and then be like, oh, like
This is
so
nice.
that thing of like it like each person, like each individual, like that's like the
You
things that
know
are
what you sound like you are? It sounds like you're asking what is the value of liberal education. That's what
that and
you're.
that's like it's dying in our institutions like it's so but it's that's why we were joking like that or it's this there's a well we're being asked to be entrepreneurial in some way, at least if we pursue this. uh what I mean by pursue this, like pursue this life, pursue this value, or I, I for me, like the very fact of this conversation, that the conversation is happening is the fact of the recognition of the thing that is valuable. And then
Hmm.
yeah, it, the it's affording such, um, and like yeah, that's my brain's going.
Hmm. So what is virtue? Not the what? 5 months. After how many months have we been at?
Like imagine like you know how Socrates reports to me in the back about um about Athens. He's like you can go ask that question in your city and you're gonna get like
Hmm.
all these answers. And then he's like, but like if you went to Athens and you asked that, like they they
Just
would
laugh at you, but
laugh at you, like you think I know. And so then it's like this um like the role that Socrates was playing in that vision in Athens society, like the rulership, the ruler who is uh like poor and annoying people and just bumbling around the marketplace. So it's like the that's that's what I it, the the kingdom of heaven as like as leaven or yeast or like is something invisible, completely unexpected, and just spreading. And by what means it's like not necessarily going to be like under the big banner that everybody's like it seems to be more often than not like it's happening like from from the one that has been from like the lowest is the kind of yeah I don't, but now and degrading into ramble.
Oh, where most sense is found. That's when you realize, aha, perhaps this is what I really know. There's no words for the things. It's just, you don't even know what to say to express some of the things that are in your head. But you
Yeah,
know something, but you know something, and you know it means something. It means something, it means something important. But your mouth doesn't know how to say it, doesn't know how to say it, how to express it. And it's just stuck there, frustrating. Mm. Virtue, can it be taught? To try to teach it, it's supposed like now, from everything we've said, is like, well, to try to teach it is to lose it. It almost sounds as if that's what we said today. Because if we focus on it, focus on your well-being, now we're no longer saying, nah, I'm not buying it. I don't buy it. Something about it is just,
yeah.
I find it hard to buy.
yeah. There's something that's sticky there. But the that's the it's like the um
But yeah, now,
it's the what it's a radical proposition. Um uh
something just doesn't sit,
Two
does not
seconds.
sit.
yeah.
Can you please restate what you said? I was thinking of Socrates in the marketplace.
Me, I was saying with everything that is said today, it seems
No, no.
it seems to suggest that in trying to teach virtue, we lose sight of virtue.
Because virtue is the doing. And this was suggested in the beginning by Umino. We can talk about it more generally, right? But at the end of the day, I can only show you that this is how the virtue of kindness shows up, for example, by taking you there, putting you behind the scenes. Voila, kindness. Now let's talk about it. But in order for us to sort of get started in the rolling motion, I need to sting you like a stingray. You need to become numb. Actually, what is kindness? And then we can get the ball rolling, right? And I can only point things out like Socrates does. Look at that. Look at that. What do you think of that? Look at that. Look at that. Let's talk. What about that? What about that? What about that? I can't go, kindness is dot, 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 and then dot, 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 and then dot, dot, dot. I've lost the plot.
Hmm.
Kindness is dot dot
I
dot.
don't know. I don't know. Like I agree with you, and yes, another part of me just doesn't. Maybe it's just being stubborn, but it's like no, that's not right. I
I
see, like I agree with you.
I
I
really
agree that it is
I really sympathize. I sympathize with that part. That is, and that's it. That in this conversation, like the because it has the quality of like growing conviction because it's so that's what I'm saying. Like I'm sympathizing with that. It's sticking on that. It's like um, but the conviction is then it's owed to the nature of um that we've been saying virtue, that it actually affords and discloses itself when related to in in that manner more than the manner of uh, seeking to benefit um, by the fruits or um, yeah.
A good
This might
guiding example
the
No, keep going.
I was just saying like that this every time it's like hard to articulate, but this might be an area to pick up. Like to carry forward. So we need to try and articulate it a bit better, but I mean one way would be that virtue can't be had, or virtue isn't possessed or acquired. So, Sipo, can you say again the where you what's stuck there?
With what in particular?
Your
With
just your the
yeah, I'm
discomfort.
saying go for it, go for it. Yeah.
So just the discomfort that
I'm saying like in a way I agree with what Avili is saying. There's a part of me that agree with what she's saying in the sense that it is a doing. It is a doing and it cannot be but there's part of me that just disagrees that no. It can. It can. And I think that the reason I'm having this conflict is because I believe something can be captured in words, but it's it's been captured not. It is only words that describe the thing, and then there's the enactment of the thing. So kindness, yes, is an enactment, and even if virtue is an enactment, there must still be that play the enactment. But what kind of enactment is it? I mean,
yeah
why is it different from other kinds? And that's the thing. That's the thing. And like perhaps when it comes to the example of teaching, I can teach you by telling you kindness is wah. But that doesn't make you kind.
yeah
It just makes you understand the words that describe the act of kindness. Doesn't make you a kind person. Make you a kind person, I would have to say kindness and wah. And we'd have to put kindness into practice. Right?
yeah
I think it could be the same thing with virtue. That we can, this is what we're aiming for, this wah. And let's try to practice. And I think that's how we end up with something like the McKinney ethics, something like that.
yeah.
We try to practice it until it becomes habit. But it's
The
got to be like, I don't think there's no way it cannot be described, even if it's wrongfully described.
I don't like I think it can be described incredibly precisely. Like the wah can come,
And,
but it's the question is of the prioritization or of the orientation. So when the word is
all right,
focus of, then it comes to reveal itself in a way that none of us could achieve in an isolated fact or
I see.
manner, and then participating through word in that manner is
I
then virtue enacted, like the so it's not indescribable. It's like it
It's
when
describable.
yeah it's it is like
You can be taught to describe it, but it's
it is
being
it is
taught to describe.
it is description. It like is intelligibility. It is most
Mm.
intelligible.
As a
And
good
so
friend of mine once said, I can get 80% in the ethics test. Doesn't make me an ethical person.
yeah
It just makes me, it just means I have a good memory. It means I have a good memory. Go for it.
when I was saying if we define virtue and say virtue is if I tell you what kindness is, and I say kindness is being nice to all people, for example, very bad definition, but kind is being nice to people. It's doing the right thing, right? Doing what seems good to you. At some point, kindness looks like its opposite. Kindness thing you can do looks like its opposite, right? The kindest thing you can do for someone is to be very reserved and unrelenting, right?
Yeah.
That is the kind that does not look like the definition, right? Now I've taught you that this is what kindness is. I have not stunned you into seeing. We both are like, what is this thing? Let's get off. Let's go onto the street. Let's watch people doing nice things. Ask them, what made you do that? Let's do the background thing, because sometimes the kindest person you know, they're doing the kindest thing, is the cruelest person you ever meet. It just seems there's a lot embedded into the situational appearance of virtue. And that's something I cannot tell you by definition. We can talk about it generally, but you do not know virtue.
Yeah.
We need to sit down and sort of pick apart, pick apart, and pick apart. And that's why it takes Aristotle so long.
The
What if we say kindness? What if we say the definition of kindness is caring about others and acting on that care for their benefit?
Caring about others and acting on that care for their
benefit. Yeah.
Look, we're going to have to parse out what benefit looks like, because sometimes for me to benefit you is to cause you some. Sometimes for me to benefit you is for me to punish you. But to that person, that doesn't appear like benefit. I'm going to have to walk you through every bit of the definition to show you how kindness shows up.
Fair, but when you elaborate, let's say I say we find them breaking into somebody's house and we just beat the shit out of them, and then we're like, that is kindness, right? And then people say somebody's like, no, that doesn't look like kindness because of the harm, right? Well, if we go back to this definition, we said it's caring about somebody, right? And acting on that care. So, in other words, if the reason we beat you to a bloody pulp is so that you stop doing this before something worse happens to you, then even though you were harmed, the so-called harm of the ass would be benefits you in the end. It wasn't a real harm. It wasn't real harm. If anything, it was discipline. If anything, it was a severe form of discipline to you. And now suppose you change your life and you don't end up getting killed by the people around. In other words, it seems to still fit the definition. Like there are definitions which can fit no matter what you say about it, because the definition captures the act in all its fluidity, like in all its, no matter how it shifts and things, the definition still holds. Yes, the point of the definition won't show you how it is. You only get an understanding of the definition when you sit down and think about what you saw. But how was what I told fit in? You get what I'm saying? How was what I'm seeing fitting in with what I'm told?
But
that didn't look like kindness.
that's the move I'm saying is not facilitated by the definition on its own. So if I tell you that virtue is dot 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 without
Yeah.
walking you around virtue, by stunning you first, by showing you around virtue, they're bringing you to
Practice.
Korea, right?
Mm.
You will hold on to that, whether correctly or incorrectly, and you can or cannot defend it. But somehow your knowledge of virtue is a little, it's a little less weighty than the person
Yeah,
you're
you
gonna meet you at.
you know about virtue.
Yeah.
You know
It
about
also, your definition also doesn't capture the person who seems kind on the surface, but is actually cruel.
Yeah.
The person who does
Yeah.
all
but
the
that's
kind
the thing, though.
things, but is perverse in heart.
Yeah.
But here's the
That's
thing, though. It does because the first part is first part. Remember, the definition isn't just about acting. First part says to, like, what was it? To care for others. Like, that person doesn't care for others, right? So what they have is not kindness because they don't have the fulfillment to care for others and act on it. Because they really don't care. They just act like they care for others. So they have what appears like kindness.
Mm.
That's why the definition emphasizes to have care, not to pretend to have care.
The definition doesn't help you distinguish between
yeah.
seeming and is. Those are the
Yeah.
things that come up when we walk around virtue, when we
Yeah. That's
actually
All right.
yeah.
the work
That's
deeply question.
that's what drives the radical nature of what has been proposed in this conversation is that appearance, like to the bone,
Mm,
can deceive, or like, and it's it's like it's the terrifying thing when Jesus is like, you may drive demons out in my name, you may praise me, like you may but I never knew you. It's like
mm,
that the that yeah, what is it, the degree to which the appearance,
yeah,
and all governed by the sense that it's in the outward enactment of the, and that's the thing that makes it like, um you know, if you follow thy will to
yeah,
to that empowers you to act in a way that is contra to our will or social will,
yeah,
then it can, not necessarily, but it can put you in a position where you 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 make it. I mean, the two people, they killed Socrates and Jesus. Like the two people we're talking about that exemplify what we are talking about. Like so
mm,
so the that like that someone can appear like almost the exact opposite of the thing that they actually are.
mm-hmm.
Like that, I think that's a big part of what holds
Probably.
that that stickiness. Like, no, there has to be something that we can like fall back on, that we can share together. But
So, but again, I'm thinking,
The skeptic comes out.
I'm thinking of the reflectiveness of the door, right? In other words, some things only become clear after experience, but some things only become clear after experience because something was there to begin with. It doesn't mean the thing that was there was incorrect. It just means you understood the words, but you didn't have a correct understanding of what the words point to. Right? Now, suppose you don't have the words, and you go and you experience things. Are you better off than the person who has the words? So when they experience, they can be like, that thing, now it makes sense, right? The other one who doesn't have the words, doesn't have a that thing, now it makes sense to point to. They have to form something now, right? Suppose, let me put an example. Suppose something hasn't been named. Something hasn't been named, hasn't been, it's, the nature of the thing hasn't been explained. And I run into that thing and I see it for the first time. And it does whatever it does. I'm so perplexed by it that I can't frame it anyway. Cause I don't know what I'm seeing. You know what I'm saying? And as much as that can be beneficial, the case that if like coming in without anything will help this thing benefit me more, it can also be just as harmful because coming in without anything could get me deceived into doing something like if we use the biblical example, right? The people who aren't following the law to the letter, right? People who aren't following the law to the letter, who didn't know the law to the letter, were more likely to listen and follow Jesus because they didn't have this pre-thinking in their head, right? Now let's move. Let's move one thing. Like let's move one. It's called generation. One generation later. Now you've got the Christian doctrine, and you've got Christians, and now let's say in the Book of Revelations, you're all told about this false Messiah and what. Now suppose somebody knows nothing about the Christian doctrine and yet pitches up the false Messiah. To them who can't frame anything of mind, like anything to mind, they're experiencing the same people are experiencing when they had no frame of mind. Jesus came. It's just now they're on the opposite end of the train. If that makes sense, because they have nothing to frame this. They have no frame of mind to put what's happening, like what's happening to them. So they're more likely than the ones who follow the Christian doctrine to just follow this guy. Because look at all the things this guy can do. So my point is that yeah, when shit is happening is a reference when your eyes become open and start, oh, this is what they were trying to teach me with that. You are more armed for an experience when you go out without ever hearing about an experience. Yeah.
I agree with you, only in part. That is one possible way that people respond to definitions and written. The other way is they assume it is a phrase. So they assume that this is it in its entirety. And they throw it through Thrasymachus or they walk away like lions. They are hostile. They do not want any expanding out. The aha moment you're explaining, where what I know or what I've read, the definition I have is a point of beginning, but expands out when I encounter the thing. The opposite attitude is also possible. And those people are the people that try and get rid of the other. Because
This
the
is
other
like the
people
example
are
of
falling away.
this is like the example of the guy in the Republic. Was it the
The
Republic?
wool.
Yeah, the wool and the dye. Was it the Silver Souls? Who if like they captured dye well, but the issue is if they were dipped into the wrong dye, you couldn't get it out. So you had to make sure that they always dipped into the right.
Uh,
Because if you if I'm remembering it correctly, man,
Yeah.
I could be butchering it right. But anyway, essentially, they, they are loyal to what they are, to what they let's say hold on to, and
Mm.
it doesn't leave. So what you teach them is what they'll be loyal, whether loyal to a fault.
Yeah.
But if you teach them the right thing, you know what I'm saying? If they get the right thing, nobody's taking it away from them. But now
Yeah.
the problem is the right thing is a one out of a many, which is the wrong thing. Everything else is wrong.
Yeah. Sure. What you raise is provocative. It's like it makes me think of two things. Like the first is this idea that um that like holiness or light is the need for building capacity. And part of that building capacity is like the framing. Like if something's possible that can like just deframe me completely, that like if I'm going to be in relationship with that, like it's going to be like because like that'll make you dance naked. Like David, I was speaking with someone, oh. But so like there's this. Uh, I saw someone say the other day on Facebook, there can be too much. You can have too much light. So just this
Like, like,
but this that you're using like a stunning of language. Like the stun can
yeah,
be, it can be, it
too
can.
much.
You're implying almost like it can be harmful because like it's too much too soon, or there's like yeah,
Is that
exactly.
what you imply?
Okay.
I, I was, I don't know if I'm misunderstanding you, Daniel,
Or
or I'm
I might I might
misunderstanding
be I might
what
be
you
reading
mean.
a little bit in. It was just that the if there's no frame or thing to catch the disturbance, then
Hmm.
it's maybe there's like lost opportunity or potential because it's just like disorientated, and then I fall back into an untransformed frame, and then it's just like, oh, I had that wild experience at one time,
Oh,
and
okay, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. You
then
brought up in the beginning is also it's also something when that too much light is also something that can happen. I just don't know if that happens for the bad or the good. Like, okay, yeah. So now we've isolated the person who has a frame of mind, and when they see something that contradicts that frame of mind, they don't want to hear it. Just leave. And then we have second person who sees the experience, and the experience gives them insight into the frame of mind that was instilled to them, that oh, this is what this and this meant. And now Dan has just introduced a third person, a person who can be so stunned by what they see that it completely overwhelms what they thought they understood about everything,
uh,
to the point where it drives them to a
yeah,
state of madness,
yeah.
state of madness. It's too much, too much.
The image that I have now is like this. It's the the bread of life, like partaking in it, and like so you ingest
Mm.
like some. It's like the first person is like, no, I'm not. I don't want to have any of that. I don't want to eat it because I'm going to ingest it and it's going to change me. So I'm not.
Mm.
Then the second one was you eat it, and then now you drawing nutrients from it, and now it's changing your structure. And then the third one is like, but and there's like learning. I mean, yeah, it's like dietary almost. Like how do you what is the what's
The right amount.
the
Importance of fellowship.
Yeah, the third guy ate it. The third guy ate it to the point where Like I, I don't even know how to explain it. When it hits you like that, nothing makes sense.
There's
Like,
a
look, you're probably seeing something and it's probably there, but you're so far removed from everybody else that you can't even communicate what you're seeing anymore.
yeah.
You just too up there now. You just too up there now. That's like when you probably look crazy when you're trying to communicate.
That's
You look
What does
crazy
that's
Paul
because we don't
say?
understand.
yeah.
Paul,
That
Paul says, don't be so spiritual that you are no earthly good.
Hmm.
this for me, this for yo this touches like a number. This the one thing is that the necessity of thinking about the languaging and words that are um actually able to be communed over. Like
Hmm.
if your encounter with like destabilizing or disorientating experience creates a private like sphere, it's going to be dangerous. So then that you find the word to commune over is is important. But the um I don't know, I don't want to lose it, but it might be worth losing. I'm not sure, but it's just this like the like it was the other thing that was provoked in when you started this thread, people. It's the just it's just like it's having firewood, you know? Like what are the things that are like if you put them together, it's likely they're gonna take, you know? And then that's like it's almost like an offering kind of thing. It's like, okay, well I have these things. It's like anger's usually like quite a good thing to contemplate. So you like I don't think anger like works in this way, and then you like you have definitions and things to put, but it's always like it's always in service of the thing that the thing taking, and then there's also this like immense safety and freedom and uh, gladness in the fact that reality is generative and that the thing that you are after is the intelligibility of reality anyway. So your material is everywhere, and then
Hmm.
it's abundance. It's just like so there isn't this like angst around storing and compiling. Like I should get better at that.
Pretty loud. The
How's this?
silence is pretty loud.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There's this phrasing this um I mentioned him to you before we started recording, people, John Viveki, and he
Hmm.
a paper with another guy, Chris Mastropietro, and the dialectic into dialogos, and the speaking about this relationship between silence and speech, and that you begin to like listen with the silence, or sorry, you begin to speak with silence. Ah, shit, I can't get it. and it's very cool.
Go on.
It's very cool. The inversion that happens. But what brings me to like the conveyance that comes in being brought to silence, or like the practice of tending to aporia, that it's like a savoring, like when one is brought to a like a stop, it's like letting, then now it's inverted, now the silence is communicating, then the silence can be like, and the silence goes and it's speaking, and then yeah, I'll get the direct quote. Maybe I was
Cool.
just erase it.
There's something about something that happens in those moments of silence. I don't know how to explain. Something happens in those moments of silence because we say something, and then when we like quiet, we're thinking about it. It's like wait. That thing I was saying, like that thing I was saying, it's only registering now.
I like it was silent, and then um it like got through a few iterations of like expectation of speech, and then I was really like, I don't know if there's anything, and then there was one
Yeah,
moment, and it was like this like flash through my body. It's like and then I was like, okay,
yeah.
that's silence. Yeah.
Praise virtue. Can virtue be taught? My brain keeps going back to the first question because my brain is like, hey, bruh, you didn't address that. Can virtue be taught?
Oh,
It seems, it seems, and I'm going to propose this. It might be wrong, it might be right. I don't know, but I have a feeling. I have a feeling, and now since logic is failing me, I'm falling towards intuition. I have a feeling, I have a feeling, ladies and gentlemen, that virtue, that the act of virtue is an inquiry. I have a feeling that virtue is inquiry into virtue. I have a feeling that the act of inquiring into virtue is how you teach virtue. Now, how you inquire may differ. How you inquire may differ. You can inquire by practice, you can inquire by recitation, inquire however you want. But inquiry implies that you consistently try to be virtuous. I don't know. But I'm just thinking. Because it might be the only thing we have left. We're out here trying to find this thing.
oh, that image of the
We're trying to find this thing which does things we know, but we don't know what this thing is. Like, look, it does something we know. We know what it does. We know what it's supposed to do, but we don't know what it is. We don't know what it is.
Inquiry can be a virtue.
Get it?
I'm thinking it
It
can.
can.
I don't. How does inquiry harm us again? I think it's one of
All
the
right.
things that causes zero harm.
All right. Let's not say it's virtue. Let's not say inquiry is virtue. Let's say inquiry into virtue is how one teaches virtue. That's circular as shit. There's absolutely nothing. There's absolutely nothing. Inquiry into virtue is how one teaches virtue. Virtue. I love it. I love it. That's why I love it. I'm just so confused. I love it. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. It's just like drugs. It's just like drugs. I'm thoroughly
Hectic,
confused. I'm
hectic.
thoroughly confused. Like, ah,
Yeah.
the last thing, it makes you a bit, let's be honest, it makes you a bit douchey. It makes you a bit douchey to do philosophy. Well, sometimes you've been listening to people say things, and at the back of your head, you keep asking, what does that mean? And you keep listening, and then you're like, nothing makes sense. Listening, you're like, nothing makes sense in this conversation. But everybody seems to understand each other. I really don't understand what they're talking about. I really don't understand what they're talking about. It makes me wonder, do they really understand what they're talking about? Or is everybody just assuming they talk about the same thing?
Uh,
That,
that feels it feels those questions and the equality feel they give me a very simple feeling. Like I can see you in a social context thinking that the 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 born skeptic,
what? You
the
have
born
to be.
skeptic.
You have to be. Oh my God. It's so wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. If the pursuit of virtue is virtuous, is it? Is it virtuous? Is it virtuous to desire virtue? I'd like to think it is. To desire good things. We just don't know what it is.
A lot of things go into desire. A lot of things go into,
Yeah,
and the object of desire can be incorrectly attained, and that usually is like it
that's
messes
not virtue.
the
You
people
didn't. You
around.
didn't.
But if your metric for virtuous, like if your metric for something being virtuous is the desire, virtue, and trying to problematize the desire.
Hmm.
Let's put the desire down.
I want. Okay, I see what you say. You're saying that because of desire, you could be led astray. You could be led astray. Very difficult to put desire down. That's a very. Now we're falling into a domain of. Whenever people talk about desire, we fall into a very trippy domain because it's not even circular anymore. I don't even know what to call it.
A trippy ballet.
Oh, domain.
The man,
Domain.
the man.
Different domain. How none of it is possible. How am I? It just stops making sense. Like, how am I not gonna desire things? Like, even if I didn't want to desire things, wouldn't I be wanting not to desire things? Like, it's
Ah,
just
Lupin.
it seems disingenuous. Seems like
When I say let's put the desire down, I mean let's not foreground and highlight the desire. The desire is there, but
but that's not feeling.
it's
That's not feeling.
way the sort of rationalization of the desire. The desire needs to pass through a filter first. We can't bring desire up. I'm not for
You're saying
that.
let's
For
not
obvious
feel
reasons.
desire. All right, I see. I see. I feel like I don't know. We're falling into a domain the two of you would be more appropriate to because I feel like we're falling into the domain of the psychological. Because in my head now, I'm just thinking of I don't know why, but now I'm thinking about focus, probably the desire comes thinking about focus and how giving giving conscious attention to something just makes the thing require more it just makes it want more attention from you. When you give something conscious attention, now it suddenly takes unconscious attention from you because you gave it conscious attention. Now it's at the back of your mind. Am I making sense?
You're making sense. You've got to sort of dig a little deeper into conscious attention, because I could say, well, conscious attention is how you disable that sort of attention. So if you pay attention to it in the correct way, if you look at it with a particular lens, let's say you look at a proclivity towards, let's say, viewing nude sculpture. Let's say I have that, for argument's sake, I have that sort of bent in me. I want to go to an art museum and look at the nudes and sort of run my hands on the nudes, right? And now I don't have to be there to do it. I do it when I see people. For example, I do it from my desk at home, sort of like a looping tape. If I pay attention to the looping tape in a particular way to see exactly what's happening. So if I bring up the tape through a very rational lens and I sort of start sifting, I start shaking the rational sift, I start to see why this isn't exactly the best for me. And then I'll drop it on my own.
Do you just drop it though? Because you can see why something's not the best for you. And you can still struggle to
You
shift.
can struggle to drop it, but every time it comes up, you remember, okay, I realize that you're not good for me for this and that reason. And I can't sort of allow you free reign. And the more you stop allowing the free reign, the less the tape keeps looping.
All right, now let's shift from that. First, shift from a negative thing to a positive thing.
Mhm.
If I focus my conscious attention on a positive thing consciously, does it yield the same results subconsciously or unconsciously? Unconsciously, even I think, let's say subconsciously. Does it yield the same result as the viewing of a negative thing?
Let's walk out the example.
I mean, it. Sorry.
On the standards of our conversation now, it's like I was thinking like when you were in that question, can virtue be taught? Like there's the object, like that's the thing that can be attended to, or the question itself, that's the thing that draws your attention and draws you into like relationship with it in a way that seems to make you become more of what you are. Like it brings you into activity that there's like this mutual, or like there's a reciprocity, there's a mutuality, and there's a disclosing. Like the question just gets deeper, and then you like relationship deepens with it. But if I'm
And
doing
then you think
cocaine
about,
and I'm thinking about cocaine, then like it has diminishing returns very quickly. It's just like then it's
enough.
that more monster, more the
Fair enough. Fair enough. So I guess the point I'm getting to with this is it seems attention waters the thing that you're being attentive to. Like the more you pay attention to something, the more the thing takes, I don't want to say takes your attention, but more you, it's going to sound circular, but I don't mean it in this way. I don't want to say it in this way. The more you pay attention to something, the more of your attention that something has. Even once your attention is removed from it,
Yeah.
it's still there, and it's still a lasting effect of the attention. So, which brings me back to the inquiry into virtue. When we inquire into virtue, we're trying to shine a light onto virtue, and by shining a light, we, we find these things we believe are virtuous. These are virtuous things, and at the back of our minds, we are thinking about something we don't even know. Am I making sense? Making sense, or rather, we know it, but we don't know how we know it, how to describe, or how to describe it, or how we don't even know how to perfectly articulate, but we know it. We have experienced it. We have all at some point experienced it. That is virtue. Virtue, but it's just so difficult. And how many things are there that are like that? I was telling you when I was reading the metaphysics the other day, like that shift Aristotle makes from uh, philosophy only being about physical things to basically back in the day physics, and that shift they made when they started adding the immaterial things because the physical things could suddenly not explain these things, and then how it emphasizes that when the first person brought those things up, everybody looked drunk and he looked like the sober person in the room. Well, how the hell did they all miss the fact that these things exist and they're not water, they're not earth, they're not they're not any of the elements, but nobody's gonna deny they exist because we all experience, right? And this is the the first basic distinction I can think of between material and immaterial things. If that makes sense, things that exist without a body. It's quite obvious right there. Those things exist, but they don't have a body. That's the first basic distinction. I mean, you can come into and then you realize, well, shit, like we all know they exist. So why would we think the only things that exist are things with a body? Right? It's the first distinction. But anyway, forgot how I even got to Aristotle going on these events. But yeah, the point I'm making is the inquiry itself
Yeah.
seems to focus on inquiry seems to lead to more inquiry. Right, and now to focus on
Yeah.
inquiry of a sort seems to lead to more inquiry, even when it's unintentional. In fact, most of the time it's unintentional. Now you can't help but see the world that ah, you know,
Yeah.
once we first read the Timaeus, I felt like a crazy man when I left the room because I was like, I'm seeing it everywhere. I was like, a car really is a unity of parts. I'm just walking around. I'm like, calmness is shared. It's shared by all these cars.
Yeah.
I couldn't switch it off. Like it's all over.
People, you often catch me off guard, or you have a particular style. It's like a martial. There's something like deceptive, and then you just like blah, and then it's like meandering, and then it's like and then it's like, oh, okay, about that, and then I'm like, whoa. It's almost like a theatrics. There's like over there, because I get pulled in. I'm like, but and then it's like, yeah.
The crazy thing is I can hardly remember what I said. I need to tie it down. I need to tie it down.
Yeah, those wins can be tough. Yes,
But yeah,
especially when cars are just. What are they?
yeah,
What maybe
car.
this might be a closing piece. This, the car. This the There's this idea of identity as being self-giving. So like this is the example this guy Jonathan Pajot uses. The steering wheel for the car. The steering wheel
Mm,
gives itself to something higher. It gives itself to the car. The car has to give itself to something higher, to the road. The road has to give itself to something higher, to the town or the city, and the city, and then and like the stacking. But like the point being that like in identity is a struggle for words, but like perfected in its self-giving, or it is self-giving. So
mm,
identity like functions in that way, or it is properly that. So like what's presence here today is this recognizing the the identity that self gives into the service of that which unfolds between us intelligibly. And then it's the service of that. I don't know if I'm trying to pull it in to um too unnaturally, but it's this it's this piece of it's like this that it's not the 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 acquisition or the possession of the thing. It's that like for you as an identity, it's good to find out that thing that you can pour into.
all right, all right. Because the relation with that thing is part of your identity.
Yeah. So then like in like if you're pouring into something that is not like how you just propose virtue to us, or like it's not immaterial material, and it's not like life, then you're going to enter that a relationship that degrades,
Mm,
because it can't it doesn't contain, or it doesn't um, that's that was one of the biggest revelations for me in relation to the body of Christ, as the members and the relationships. It's like
mm,
the self-emptying of that.
observe.
Yeah, it's being emptied into relation, and actually that's the best thing that I've felt for myself, is to be emptied into relation.
Like a bunch of nerds.
Bunch of nerds.
Got me thinking hard. Got me thinking hard. Thinking
Oh, it is.
more.
Yeah, the think phase. Could we even try and see, maybe let's let things percolate and like see,
Thinking more.
yeah.